Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something, well, huge, something so universal, so seemingly inescapable, it pretty much defines how we live. And yet, here's the twist, it might not actually exist at all. I'm talking, of course, about time. Think about it. We spend our lives managing, checking calendars, chasing deadlines, thinking about the past, worrying about the future. It's the framework for everything. Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever genuinely just stopped and asked yourself, what is time, really? Like in your actual experience, and why does it feel so relentless?
That feeling, that inescapability, that's exactly what we're exploring today. We've got some really fascinating sources, quite philosophical actually, and they present this profound paradox. Time seems to govern every single thing in our physical world, every action, every consequence.
Yeah, everything.
But crucially, it doesn't fundamentally exist in our immediate conscious experience, like right now. So the core conflict here that these sources point out is that time is, well, it's strange. It's tied up with thought, it's like a mental structure we build. Yet down here, on this physical level, this dimension of cause and effect, there just seems to be no escape from it.
Right.
So our mission, our deep dive today, is to guide you through these two faces of time. The helpful side, the enabler.
Okay.
And the destructive side, the hunter. We want to see how they work and then hopefully arrive at this really quite surprising truth about the now, which, according to these sources, is the only thing that's actually permanent.
All right. Let's start with the positive then. The friendly face, time is the helper. Looking at it purely as a tool, our sources say it's wonderful. Necessary even, they're pretty clear.
Yeah.
Without time, nothing is possible. It's a prerequisite for, everything we know and do here.
Exactly. Time is the medium that allows change to happen. It's the canvas, if you like, where causality gets painted. And to really get our heads around how necessary it is, we need to think about what happens if it isn't there. The sources talk about this idea they call the freeze paradox.
The freeze paradox. Okay, what's that?
It's a thought experiment. Imagine you could literally just stop time, halt its flow in this physical dimension. What happens?
You'd have infinite time, like stop the clock during an exam.
Well, that's what we might think, but the sources argue the result is actually catastrophic stasis, total freeze.
Catastrophic stasis.
Wow.
That paints a picture. So not an advantage then.
Not at all. If time stopped, you would stop, instantly frozen. You couldn't move your hand, couldn't blink, couldn't even form a thought, because even thinking takes duration.
Okay, wow. That makes sense. Even a thought needs a beginning and an end, a process.
Precisely. Any movement, any transformation of energy needs time. It needs a before and an after. Trying to drink water. The water molecules can't move from the glass to you without that temporal flow. Even the smallest thing shifting in your seat, breathing out, it requires time. The source gives this very specific, almost odd example. Moving your hand.
Yeah.
Just a simple physical action. It requires a duration, maybe they say 2 seconds, to actually complete.
2 seconds. That feels kind of long for just moving a hand. Why that number?
Yeah, it does seem a bit specific. I don't think it's meant like a precise scientific measurement for every single person. It's more of a teaching tool, It's highlighting that even movements we perceive as smooth or instant are actually built up from these tiny temporal chunks. When we say something is instantaneous, that's a concept, but physically, that hand movement is an event unfolding over time. Going from point A to point B needs those, let's call them 2 seconds of duration of experience. It just shows how basic functions absolutely depend on time flowing.
So time really is the dimension that enables, everything. Experiencing things, learning stuff, getting things.
Exploring, discovering new things. Yeah, even just setting a goal, establishing a personal purpose in life, saying, I want this.
Right, that declaration, I want this, it's totally meaningless without the time needed to actually do the steps to get there. Time gives us agency. It's the basic foundation.
And this is where it gets interesting because it leads to this human contradiction the sources talk about. We get this essential dimension, this runway for life.
Yeah.
And yet, even though objectively there's usually plenty of it for what we need right now, what's the big human complaint?
I don't have enough time.
Exactly. Everyone wishes they had more time. It's seen as this scarce resource.
It is really strange when you put it like that. Why is this thing that's always present experience is something we lack? It suggests the issue isn't time itself, but us, how we perceive it.
That's the crux of it. That feeling of scarcity comes directly from that mental structure we talked about earlier, the thinking mind. When your mind is constantly jumping ahead, planning, worrying about deadlines, or dwelling on the past, it's burning through conceptual time way faster than experience time.
Ah, okay. So you're trying to live in the past and the future simultaneously
Yeah.
while standing right here.
Yeah. And naturally, you feel like you're falling behind, stretched thin. There's never enough time because your mind is creating this huge demand for it that reality can't meet.
So the feeling of not having enough time isn't real. It's a psychological effect.
It's a psychological artifact, yes. The mind's activity warps our perception of this dimension that was meant to be our ally. And this is exactly where time starts to show its other face.
The friendly helper starts to change.
Absolutely. That helpful face begins to shift right when we grasp its finitude. Initially, time gave you everything allowed you to achieve to get things. But then as the clock keeps ticking, time becomes, well, the source says unfriendly.
It turns into the hunter, and its value shoots up because we know it's going to run out. The sources say the worst possible need for many people is hearing.
You have no more time. Or
Yeah.
simply, your time is up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chilling.
Yeah.
That moment forces this terrifying realization. The train you've been riding is pulling into the final station, and suddenly, all the things you put off, the goals you still had, they're just gone, out of reach.
The very resource that let you get stuff now becomes the force stopping you from keeping it. The enabler fully becomes the destroyer, and it starts its work, taking things away.
Okay, so time shifts from helper to hunter, and its first target, the most obvious one, is the physical vehicle, our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
The sources don't mince words. They say time starts doing bad things to it, which is just, well, getting old, plain and simple.
Yeah, it's not just something we notice, it's like a physical law in this dimension.
Mhm.
Time means entropy, decay, complexity breaking down, order turning into disorder, structures aging. Every day that goes by is basically wear and tear in the body. It's the unavoidable, visible mark of time's power in our physical reality.
And it's not just physical decay, is it? The loss is broader.
It's multifaceted, exactly. Time starts to take things away externally, too. You start losing friends, not necessarily because you fall out, but just because they're getting old as well.
Yeah, you see it happening around you, to family, to peers.
And then there's the personal decline, losing abilities you used to just take for granted. The sources have this really relatable example.
What's that?
It's someone acknowledging, kind of matter-of-factly, jogging. I don't do it anymore, so walking's still fine. Jogging's too much. Yeah.
Yeah, that hits home. That moment you realize a limit exists that wasn't there before. It's humbling.
It really encapsulates the whole process, doesn't it? Jogging needs more structural integrity, better joints, faster recovery. When the body's repair crew can't keep up with the damage from that activity, time draws a line. The sources use this great analogy for time's effect on the body. It's like an old car.
The old car analogy, right? That makes sense because it's not just surface stuff, it's systemic.
Yeah. Exactly. The older the car gets, the more things just start to go wrong with it.
Yeah.
Maybe it starts with a small oil leak, then the suspension needs work, then there's an electrical fault, then rust starts eating away at the chassis.
You can patch it up for a while.
You can replace parts, sure, but the fundamental structure, the frame, it's still aging. Time is applying this constant tiny damage bit by bit. Eventually, the whole system gets to a point where repairs are either impossible or just don't make sense anymore.
And that's the body, the physical vehicle.
That's the fate of the physical vehicle, according to these sources.
So time is the clock running out, and it's like this slow, steady process of degradation. It's a double whammy.
It's a powerful combo, yeah.
But the sources also say that while this destructive part is inevitable, we humans are pretty obsessed with fighting it, right? Trying to delay the onset. Oh, deeply invested. It's like a war against the clock. And this fight happens on two main fronts. Internal practices, things involving consciousness, and then external, often technological methods. Okay, let's look at the internal stuff first. You said it connects to presence.
Yeah, this is where it links back to the bigger philosophical picture we'll get to. The sources mention three main internal ways people try to delay physical decay. Two are pretty standard. Plenty of exercise, good nutrition, basically maintaining the vehicle through physical means acting within time.
Right, look after the car. But the third one is the really interesting one, meditation, or what they call presence practice. Okay, presence practice. How does that help delay the body's decay? The sources actually claim it really helps.
It seems counterintuitive, maybe, but the idea is about reducing internal friction, stress, anxiety. Think about how much aging seems accelerated by just worry.
Yeah, stress definitely takes a toll.
Exactly. Those mental loops, regretting the past, anxious about the future. That's the definition of not being present. That's being lost in conceptual time. When you practice presence, when you meditate, you quiet that constant mental chatter.
Okay.
And when the mind quiets down, you reduce the flow of stress hormone, things like cortisol. We know high cortisol levels mess with cellular repair. They can shorten telomeres. Basically, they accelerate aging at a biological level.
Wow. So by stepping out of the mental idea of time, even briefly,
Mm-hmm.
you actually slow down the physical clock. That's the idea presented. You're reducing the internal drivers of inflammation and system overload. It's
Yeah.
quite profound. Using a non-temporal practice presence to influence a temporal physical process aging. It's like you mentioned the express train analogy for time earlier.
Yeah.
You can't physically get off the train,
Right.
but maybe presence practice is like finding a way to stop feeling the frantic speed of the journey by shifting where your awareness is.
That's a great way to put it. Finding stillness amidst the movement.
And yet, alongside this deep internal work, you also see people going to pretty extreme external lengths. The sources mentioned some folks taking, 30 or 40 capsules and liquids every single day.
Mm-hmm. That represents the other end of the spectrum, the sort of technological or chemical warfare against time.
Trying to biohack aging.
Pretty much. Using advanced supplements, maybe aggressive pharmacological stuff, often based on the latest longevity research, trying to maximize cell efficiency, fight oxidation damage. It's like trying to constantly upgrade the old car with the absolute best, most expensive new parts as they become available. A daily infusion against decay.
What's the philosophy there? Just keep patching it up indefinitely.
Often it's a bit statistical. The hope is if they can push back major age-related diseases by just 5 or 10 years, maybe they'll live long enough for the next big breakthrough in regenerative medicine or something. It's literally a race against their own timeline.
It sounds exhausting. Just constantly battling entropy with pills. And the sources add that sobering note, right? Even these people, the ones pouring huge resources into it.
Also have to go eventually. Yeah. The reminder is stark. No matter how good the replacement parts are, the fundamental vehicle still wears out. The train stops for everyone.
And then there are the efforts focused not even on the internal decay, but just the visible signs.
Yeah.
Trying to, fix gravity's effect on the face, smooth out the lines.
Yeah, counteracting the visible evidence that time has passed. It's another layer of the battle.
It's fascinating, that contrast.
Yeah.
The deep internal seeking of presence versus the external fight to just look like time hasn't happened. It really shows how much psychological weight time carries for us.
It really does. And sometimes you need a bit of humor to deal with it. The source shares that lovely little anecdote about the father looking in the mirror as he gets older and claiming that mirrors are not the same quality they used to be.
Huh, that's good. A relatable way to acknowledge the undeniable without getting too morose about it.
Exactly. A bit of lighthearted denial. You see it happening, but you gotta laugh sometimes, right? To stay sane. But behind the laugh, the core message is still there. Time is that express train. You're on it, you can't get off.
Yeah.
And the sources really emphasize the finality of this particular journey. The only way off this specific express train is when the physical vehicle goes, period. So for the purpose of this deep dive, understanding our experience in this dimension, we have to accept that conclusion. In the physical reality of movement, decay, cause and effect, there is no escape from time.
Which sets up the big paradox perfectly.
Yeah.
We've established that physically, we are completely subject to time. Time is the hunter, decay is inevitable. But that's the case. How on earth do we square that with the other claim? The philosophical idea, the experiential one, that time doesn't actually exist in our immediate awareness.
Okay, yeah. Here's where it gets really interesting, because now we pivot. We shift from the external world of physics and biology to the internal reality of consciousness. We've agreed time affects everything out here.
Yeah.
The mountains erode, cars rust, faces wrinkle.
Right.
Evidence is everywhere.
But the truly strange discovery, the insight that kind of unlocks the whole puzzle, is that you can never actually see time itself. You see its effects, its consequences, but you can't observe time directly.
You can measure it, sure, the gap between two events.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't, look at time the way you look at this microphone or the wall. It's not graspable by the senses.
Exactly. It's not a sensory input.
Yeah.
So if we strip away the mental concepts, the clocks, the measurements, what are we left with in just your raw, immediate experience?
Just now.
That's the core synthesis from our sources, the immediate experience fact.
Right.
In your direct, unfiltered experience of being alive, there is absolutely no time, none. All you ever have, all you have ever had, all you will ever have is the present moment, this moment, right now. That's the fundamental continuous reality of your consciousness.
Okay, wait. If you just observe, right now. The sounds, the feeling of sitting here. Yeah, you're right. I can't find the past in this moment or the future. It's
No.
just here,
Just here.
always.
So if we don't experience time directly, where does it come from? How do we even get the idea of sequence, of duration, if all we ever are is now?
According to the sources, time gets introduced only when we start thinking. It's not out there, it's in here. It's a mental structure.
A mental structure.
Yeah. Time is manufactured by the mind when it steps away from just pure perception and starts doing other things, projecting, comparing, remembering.
Can we break that down a bit? How does thought actually create time?
Well, thought itself needs sequence, doesn't it?
Right.
To think about, say, what you had for lunch yesterday, your mind has to pull up a memory that's the past and hold it against your current state, the now.
Okay, comparison.
Right. And the gap, the conceptual distance between that memory and this present moment, that's what the mind labels yesterday. The duration is an abstract measurement created by that comparison. The mind is constantly measuring the gap between here and there, or now and then.
So asking questions like, what did I say a minute ago? That's creating time.
That's using the mental structure of time, yes. Or maybe more relevantly right now, someone's thinking, how much longer is this guy going to talk?
Hopefully not too long.
That projection, that anticipation of an endpoint relative to the current moment, that is creating and using conceptual time. If the thought was simply, I am hearing sounds, there's no time in that, just presence.
Okay. Time enters the picture the moment you try to frame the experience, structure it, measure it against something else.
Precisely.
So this clarifies that difference between conceptual time and experience time. When we make plans, use calendars, say things like, we're going to be here for 2 hours. That's using time on the conceptual level. And that level is real and necessary for coordinating life, right?
Absolutely. It functions on that level. The clock on the wall is real in that sense. Social agreements about time work.
Yeah.
But the actual experience of being here for those conceptual 2 hours is completely inseparable from the present moment. You don't experience the past hour or the next hour directly. You only ever experience the now of the conversation, constantly unfolding.
Like, you're always arriving at the present moment. It's never then, it's always now.
Perpetual arrival. That's a good way to think of it. The clock is a tool we use, a useful convention, but the lived experience is always, only, eternally now.
It feels so simple when you say it like that. Obvious, almost. The past is just memory. The future is just anticipation. But the only point of contact with reality, the only moment we actually live, is right now.
It is simple, profoundly simple, and the sources suggest that's exactly why we miss it. Because it's so simple that it's so obvious, the mind tries to complicate it.
That's trouble.
People hear this and they go, the now, that's interesting, let me think about that. They try to grasp it intellectually.
But wait, if time is created by thought, then trying to understand the absence of time, the now, using thought, that seems like a contradiction, doesn't it?
It's completely counterproductive. As the source points out, you can't think about the present moment effectively because it's too immediate.
Too immediate.
Yeah. Thinking requires a little distance, a separation between the thinker and the thought, or between the starting point and the end point of the thought process. Thinking is movement, conceptually. The now is just here. It's too direct, too simple. It can't be captured by the analyzing, structuring nature of thought. The very instant you try to define now, that now has already slipped into the immediate past.
Wow, that's the ultimate catch-22. The tool we use to understand everything, thought, analysis, comparison, is the very tool that creates the illusion of time and stops us from seeing the reality that's underneath it.
Yeah.
We're caught in our own mental machinery.
We are, which means the solution isn't more thinking. It's not intellectual, it's experiential. It's about noticing. The conceptual time of the physical world, the helper, the hunter, the clock on the wall that's real on its own level, it governs physics. But the time that creates stress, the feeling of scarcity, the pressure, that's the mental structure.
So the physical world runs on time, but our consciousness doesn't have to.
Our consciousness fundamentally resides outside of that mental structure of time. Its natural state is now.
So the big conclusion here, the resolution to the paradox for anyone listening, is that we live in two realities simultaneously, almost.
In a way. We live in a physical universe ruled by time, where the express train is definitely moving, things decay, cause and effect happens sequentially.
Okay.
But for you, in your direct, immediate experience of being alive, there is only always the present moment. Your core awareness exists perpetually in the now. Hashtag outro.
Okay. So pulling this all together.
Yeah.
What does this actually mean for us living our daily lives, trying to get things done, plan for the future, deal with the past.
Yeah, how do we use this?
It seems like it means we need this dual understanding. We absolutely have to use time, the helper side, to function. To plan, coordinate, achieve goals, build things, that's necessary.
Yeah.
But the feeling of being trapped by time, the stress, the not enough feeling, that part is the illusion. Created by getting lost in thought, lost in conceptual time.
That's the synthesis exactly. Time is a functional concept. It's necessary for action, necessary for the train to run on the physical tracks. We use it. But the reality of our conscious experience is perpetual, now. We can be highly effective in the world of time while realizing deep down that our essential self, our core awareness, isn't actually made of time.
And let's just quickly loop back to that really practical point from section 2, the connection between presence and physical health.
Right, the tangible benefit.
The sources claim that choosing to be in the present moment more often through meditation, mindfulness, whatever you call it, actually really helps to delay the decay of the body. So stepping out of mental time has a direct, positive physical impact.
It reinforces that deep mind-body connection, doesn't it? If conceptual time, especially the stressful kind generated by excessive thought, accelerates aging, then every moment you spend genuinely present, resting your awareness in the immediate. Now, quieting that mental chatter, you're essentially cutting the fuel line to some of that stress-induced decay. You are, in a very real sense, lessening the impact of the hunter.
That gives a powerful reason for practicing presence that goes way beyond just feeling calmer. It's potentially an act of, well, self-preservation on a physical level.
Which leads us to a final, maybe provocative thought for you to take away and explore on your own.
Okay.
Given that the sources define time, at least the problematic kind, as a mental structure. And that structure, when it runs rampant, becomes the hunter that speeds up decay.
If presence is the antidote to that destructive aspect of time, could dedicating yourself to living more fully in the forcing now be the closest we can get to actually slowing down that express train while still being fully alive and functional inside the physical vehicle?
Not stopping time, but changing our relationship to its passage, fundamentally.
Maybe the greatest freedom isn't finding more time, but needing less conceptual time because you're more fully here. It's definitely something worth considering next time you feel that pressure from the clock.
Absolutely. A profound thought to end on. Thank you for sharing these sources and guiding us through this deep dive on time and the now. It's been fascinating.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Until next time, stay curious. And maybe notice those 2 seconds it takes for your hand to move. See the now in action.
We'll see you in the next deep dive.